Hi, I'm Skip Nipper. Welcome to Skip's Corner, the podcast where I tell you about not only Nashville's great baseball history and traditions,
shot to right, a one-hop liner,
but certainly about its past. And you will hear a little bit about its present and future, too.
Yes, he can, and makes the waist-high catch.
There are great stories about Tom Wilson Park, Herschel Greer Stadium, Sulphur Dell, and the players, coaches, and fans who love everything about baseball. And every once in a while, you will get to hear from a special guest who will share their fondness and even passion for the great game.
It's a high fly ball down the right field corner, going way back, hits a lead-off home run.
You may already know this, but Donnie Baseball, the hitman, is returning to Nashville for a special night in January. Now, more about that later, but right now, let me tell you a few things about this special ball player. Donald Arthur Mattingly was born on April the 20th, 1961, in Evansville, Indiana, the youngest of 5 children of Bill and Mary Mattingly. At Reitz Memorial High School, Donald stood out in 3 sports. He was the football team's starting quarterback and the basketball squad's star point guard. But it was one American Legion baseball game that convinced Don that he was a baseball player. In a 1976 game against the neighboring town of Owensboro, Kentucky, he faced a pitcher who was the Cincinnati Reds' top draft pick that year, and Don, a freshman, hit 2 doubles off the star. He soon had developed a name for himself, and scouts were occasionally seen at all of his ball games. Then he began receiving letters offering baseball scholarships to college. At one point, Mattingly helped his high school to a 59-game winning streak, with one of those wins coming in the Indiana State Championship game in his junior season. So by 1979, Mattingly had become a hot prospect, even earning a brief write-up in Sports Illustrated. And most teams avoided drafting the high school star because many expected that he would attend college. But you know who took a chance on him? The New York Yankees, and took him in the 19th round. That's unbelievable. Took him in the 19th round of the 1979 amateur draft and signed him to a minor league deal. Mattingly, it seems like, was an instant success in the minor leagues, hitting .349 with the Aniana Yankees, a short season league that only played 53 games in 1979. And the next year, he moved up to Greensboro in the Class A South Atlantic League and led the league with a .358 batting average. And after a strong year that we remember for AA Nashville in the Southern League in 1981, he batted .315 and had 98 RBIs, and then was promoted to AAA Columbus for 1982. There he had a great season too. He hit .315 with 10 home runs and 75 RBIs, and winning accolades for his defense. Now, he made his major league debut on September the 8th, 1982, against the Baltimore Orioles in Yankee Stadium as a 9th-inning defensive replacement for Dave Winfield in left field. And 3 days later, he had his first major league at-bat against reliever Jim Slayton of the Milwaukee Brewers and popped out to third. It wasn't until almost 3 weeks later that he managed his first major league hit, an 11th inning single off Boston's Steve Crawford on October 1 in Yankee Stadium. And in 12 major league at-bats in 1982, he had 2 singles and 1 RBI. He won a roster spot during spring training in 1983, but he wasn't used very much, and almost 2 weeks into the season, had only 7 at-bats and 2 hits, and he was sent back down to Columbus on April the 14th. That was his last trip to the minors, because there, with Columbus, he hit better than .340 with 8 home runs in 43 games, and he had 37 RBIs. And when the Yankees' Bobby Mercer announced his retirement in June. It opened up a reserve roster spot in the Bronx, and Mattingly was called on to fill that position. He stayed the balance of the season as a spot starter, a defensive replacement in right field, left field, and first base, and he was a pinch hitter. And he helped make some baseball history on August the 18th, 1983, when he played second base. Now, that's as a left-handed thrower in the finish of the George Brett Pine Tar game. So for the 83 season, Mattingly, then 22, showed that he could hit and he could defend, and he batted .283 with 4 home runs and 32 RBIs and 279 at-bats. So going into 1984 in spring training, new manager Yogi Berra said that although the team planned to keep Mattingly, he wouldn't begin the season as a starter. But it only took a few weeks of spring training to change Berra's mind. After a March in which Mattingly hit well and continued to show off his glove, Berra announced that Mattingly would start the season as a regular first baseman. And Mattingly found a power stroke. And then Lou Piniella, the Yankees hitting coach, described that summer how he'd worked with Mattingly on his swing all year, telling him to keep his weight back, hold his body in balance through the entire swing, and the slight shift in body weight that Piniella recommended led to more power. And going into the season's final weekend, he had a battle with his teammate, Winfield, for the batting championship of the American League. Mattingly led Winfield 342 to 341 for that final weekend. But Mattingly went just 1 for 7 on Friday and Saturday and entered the last day of the season trailing Winfield 339 to 342. But in the last game, he managed 4 hits in 5 at-bats, and Winfield went 1 for 4. And Mattingly had won the race 343 to 340. Now, Don Mattingly's place in history is a long one. It's an unusual one. For 6 years, he was the game's best player, no doubt, averaging 327, 203 hits, 43 doubles, 27 home runs, 114 RBIs, and 97 runs scored. That's an average. But the second half of his career was hampered by a bad back. He won 4 more Gold Gloves in the 90s. His batting average dropped, though, and his power numbers also declined to an average of just 10 home runs and 64 RBIs. But if you looked into all those numbers, it shows that he really had only one bad season, and that was 1990. And while 1991 and 92 were both mediocre, his 160-game averages over the last 5 years of his career were a .291 batting average, 13 homers, and 83 RBIs. Now, let me give you a list of his notable achievements. He was a 6-time All-Star between 1984 and 1989. He was the American League Most Valuable Player in 1985. He was a 9-time American League Gold Glove winner and a 3-time American League Silver Slugger Award winner. He was the American League batting average leader in 1984. He was the slugging percentage leader in 1986. He was the 2-time American League hits leader in 1984 and 1986. Was the 2-time American League total bases leader in 85 and 86. Was the 3-time American League doubles leader in 1984, 1985, and 1986, and was the American League's RBI leader in 1985. 20 home run seasons, he had 5. 1984 through 1987, and again in 1989. 30 home run seasons, he had 3. 1985, 86, and 87. 100 in RBI seasons included 5 years, 1984 through 87, and again in 1989. 100 runs scored seasons, he had 2, 1985 and 1986. And how many times did he have 200 hits in a season? Would you believe 3 times? 1984, 1985, and 1986. Now, that's a little bit of his beginning and some of his career stats, but there's more to hear. And if you don't already know, Don Mattingly will be featured speaker at the 87th Annual Old Timers Banquet to be held on Sunday evening, January the 19th, at the Sheraton, Music City, Nashville Airport, located at 777 McGavock Pike in Nashville. And if you want to Google it, it's zip code 37214. Tickets are $100. You can buy 10 for a table, have your own table if you'd like. Tickets are going fast, so I'd hurry up. But they're available at otbaseball.com/banquet. Or you can shoot me an email at 262downright@gmail.com. I'll be able to get tickets to you. It should be a great night. It should be one of the best attended old timers banquets of all time. When this time, Donnie Baseball, the hitman, comes home to Nashville once again.